she's an adult. Is there anything really wrong with that? As long as they're both being very open and honest. Because it's just like any other relationship, right? Where if a guy just wants to hook up, like that's fine, but he better be honest about it. He better tell that woman that that's all that it is and not to expect anything more.
Well, ethically, you should do that.
Exactly. But, this is somebody very famous. It's out there. So it's probably more of a possibility that she does know, right? That
of course
it
she knows.
is open and honest.
Yeah. How could she not know? I mean, all you have to do is a quick search and you'll be able to see the chart of what his age was and what his girlfriends were. And they're all around the same age. And they all don't last past 25.
Hey guys, welcome to the Emily and Todd Podcast. Today we're talking about a controversial hot topic. Leonardo DiCaprio is known for dating younger women, and he is currently rumored to be dating a 19-year-old. And Leo is 48. Before we get started, please remember to like and comment on this video, as that does really help with the YouTube algorithm. So Todd, this is a very controversial topic. A lot of people are talking negatively about this whole thing because of the age gap.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
Well, it kind of came on my radar because I was just scrolling through Facebook and there was an article about this, and there was 5 female Facebook friends of mine that all were just saying what a creep this guy was and how disgusting he was, and if he should be in jail, really harsh comments. And that got me thinking, what's this about that there's such vitriol associated with it? I think that there's part of that is there's jealousy going on.
Yeah.
I think it's that, and they probably have daughters that they're saying, I need to protect.
Yeah. I think that middle-aged women do not like to see an older man going for a much younger woman because it is a threat. But I don't know if it's necessarily a threat to what they're thinking is going to be the impact on society. I think it's actually very personal. I think that even if they're married, right, they're not even in the dating world. So why should they care?
Yeah.
But they still feel a threat because what it means. And what it means
Their
is
husband.
that older man wants younger. That means her husband wants younger.
You nailed it, Emily. You nailed it.
I think that's really, and that's internal.
Yes.
I feel like I could almost imagine that for myself, right? If I were married today and I'm hearing this story, I'd have a little bit of fire in my stomach because that means, if that's holding true, that means that my husband wants younger.
You could get traded in.
I could be traded in.
Yes.
That's not okay.
Yes. That's where it's coming from. And you can set up your private practice now because you just upped me when it came to the psychology of this. And that's so
it's a
true.
Big compliment.
That's so true.
Right?
That's so true. And so I think that's kind of what's going on here is that's the real reason.
Right. He's getting labeled a creep. And it's because obviously the age gap is getting larger and larger.
Yes.
As he goes through the pattern of dating women in either 19 or in their early 20s. Well, as he gets older and older and he continues that cycle, people are starting to now look at that.
So Leonardo's camp put out a press junket and essentially said the reason that he stops dating women at the age of around 25, which has been historically shown, there's graphs out there you can look, is that from his perspective, he is not interested in ever getting married or ever starting a family. And when a woman hits around the age of 25, he says she starts to want that from him, and he's not interested in that. And so that's when he kind of cuts it off because it gets to the point where it causes a lot of stressors in the relationship. That's the explanation that they're giving. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. But honestly, to me, it makes sense.
It does make sense compared to all the jokes going around that, women are just aging out of what he prefers. And then he just moves on to the next one and replaces her with somebody even younger.
Exactly. We were talking prior to this, and you made a really valid point of saying, the reality is that most women aren't going to look significantly different between 25, 26, 27 even, and 22 and 23.
Yeah, if he likes them at 19.
Especially if they're models.
Absolutely. She's going to look maybe even better by the age of 25.
Yeah, there's that possibility for sure. There's other rumors too that he makes them sign NDAs.
Okay, that's possible, right? Like before entering into the relationship,
yes.
Which kind of makes sense. Like I feel like somebody like Leonardo DiCaprio, somebody that's that famous, that has that much wealth, like there has to be some sort of protection that they have in place. Because think about it, like she could be using him for many things.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, nobody even thinks about that.
No.
Think about, so the woman who's currently rumored to be seeing him, she's a model, but she's not, outside of the modeling world, she's not known at all. So think about what this could do for her career, being linked with him, being seen, in the tabloids or just, at an award ceremony or whatever it may be. She's going to have the spotlight shine on her. I bet her Instagram followers tripled.
At least, I'm sure.
Once that happened. So she gets fame out of this. She gets recognition and, she gets money.
Yeah, she gets to enjoy trips, probably.
Probably? Yeah. Definitely.
Definitely trips, definitely some good dinners. Just, those experiences.
Exactly. And the reality is that most 19-year-old women, honestly, I think, if they had the opportunity, if Leonardo DiCaprio was in their DMs and he said, I want to take you out on my yacht and we're going to go to Paris for the weekend, I have a hard time believing that most women would turn that down.
Yeah, I think most would go. And it doesn't mean that she'd be signing up for a relationship with him right away, but it's just that experience. That's exciting. That's new. That's something that she's probably has never experienced. Most likely.
Yes. And so she's definitely benefiting from this situation as well. The other thing is that he's had this track record and it's really obvious. So it's not like she's the first one.
Right.
She's like the 30th.
That's my whole thing with this, right? Is that as long as they're both being very open and honest with what they're getting out of the relationship and what they foresee down the road, then I don't know what they're doing. Like, she's an adult. Is there anything really wrong with that? As long as they're both being very open and honest. Because it's just like any other relationship, right? Where if a guy just wants to hook up, like, that's fine, but he better be honest about it. He better tell that woman that that's all that it is and not to expect anything more.
Well, ethically, he should do that.
Exactly. But, this is somebody very famous. It's out there. So it's probably more of a possibility that she does know, right? That
of course
it is open and honest.
Yeah. How could she not know? I mean, all you have to do is a quick search and you'll be able to see the chart of what his age was and what his girlfriends were. And they're all around the same age. And they all don't last past 25. Again, from her perspective, all the social clout that she's going to get just from being with him, if this is indeed a thing. Then it's one of those things where if she dates him for 2 or 3 years, then she's going to have so many more options of men. She probably, already has tons of options.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about like high caliber A-list stars that she probably wouldn't have had before.
Just because
she runs in those circles now.
Yeah. You make a really good point. That really brings up her ability to meet some quality men down the line that she can settle down with. So that's a huge advantage for her to say yes to it.
Yeah.
Even when she knows it's just temporary.
Exactly.
Because let's face it, most relationships when you're in your early 20s, they don't work out anyways.
Yeah, they don't work out anyways.
So even if she was dating a 21-year-old man.
Exactly.
It's probably going to be over in 2 years anyways.
Yes. Yeah.
And in the meantime, like along with, getting into these social circles, she's like learning how to communicate in a really intense way, I imagine. Like the amount of value that Leo brings to her life as far as the conversations I would imagine that they would have, including like anyone that he's around. I just think that they have to be highly intelligent. And then that just, to be in a room full of people and you're like the lowest on the bar, like that's the best situation.
Yeah.
Because they're just going to bring you up.
Yes, exactly. She gets access to this and all of his friends and social circles, and it's something that, would greatly enhance her life. And so I think for her perspective, like she's thinking like, I really got nothing to lose here.
Yeah.
The only point I think we should bring up is the fact that, let's say she legitimately catches feelings for him. Do you know what I mean? And then, she's looking at the calendar and it's her 25th birthday is coming up pretty soon. Like how many of these women has Leo's broke their heart when they turn 25? So was the juice worth the squeeze? Maybe for her, she's able to look at it and say, okay, I know this is time limited, and so I'm not going to invest all my feelings. Or do you think that's, from a woman's point of view, that's just not possible?
I don't think that's possible, especially at 19.
Okay.
I don't know her dating history. Like this might be her first serious relationship.
Potentially, for sure.
And then that's like really heavy. So, I mean, you can go into a relationship. Women do this all the time, right? That try to participate even in hookup culture. And they go into it thinking like, yes, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to catch feelings. And then you always hear about them catching feelings after the fact. And that like, oh, they realize they can't really be that type of woman.
Yeah.
And maybe when they're older and they've done it a lot, maybe those women do have an easier time to not catch feelings. I think that is possible. I mean, because they are going to have a harder time to pair bond anyways, maybe. But I think for a 19-year-old that hasn't been through many relationships, I think that's going to be really difficult, especially for, even though this man is older and yes, he's not like looking like he's in his prime, he's not staying fit, there's that intelligence about him and the experiences and the stories that he probably has. Like, it would be hard not to connect with that.
Yes.
So I would imagine...
Well, and he's probably very charismatic and charming.
Absolutely. So I would imagine that she's going to have a hard time, that anyone that he's broken up with has a hard time afterwards.
Yes, even if they saw it coming.
Even if they saw it coming.
I kind of have these mixed feelings because I think, I in some ways, honestly, and this is going to sound weird almost, but I almost empathize with Leo because it's something where... Like, I don't think he's ever going to, get to the point of having that family. And once he gets to the point where if he lives till he's 80 and he can't do this anymore, like it's just women aren't interested, he's just going to be this lonely old guy by himself.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? And so it's something that I think he screwed himself by having all these relationships over a long period of time, which makes it really difficult for him to pair bond. And then it's one of those things where he can't do this forever.
What I think of is that must be so dissatisfying, and it must be a more shallow relationship when you can't be with somebody long term, past 3 years, past 4 years. And I would think at some point, especially towards the end of your life, like, that's where family usually counts the most. And like, if you haven't had your family around you and you've had on and off relationships and nothing long standing, like, who's going to be there beside you?
Nobody.
That, like, that's what really matters. So I do have that like base concern when I see that pattern with anyone. Whereas like the women that he's involving himself with when they're in their early 20s, like they're moving on in life, right? And they're finding a man to be with long term.
Sure.
Most likely having children and having that deeper relationship.
Yeah. And the other piece I think is important to talk about is that all men ideally want someone that they know is attracted to them. Do you know what I mean? And so for right now, again, I think he can still pull that off. But I'd be interested for people in the comments about what they think about, our theories and, if they agree or disagree. Because, lately in our comment section, we've had a lot of people who've disagreed. But I think that's interesting because it's one of those things where, we both have our different backgrounds we come from, but it's something that, we're not claiming to have all the answers.
Right. We want to hear, especially from our viewers. So please comment if you guys have a different opinion.
Absolutely.
Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and watch the next recommended video. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.